Well, there most certainly are real conspiracies. The problem is no one wants to feel stupid, and you don't want to even entertain conspiracy theories because there's dumb ones out there. So you get connected to all the dumb ones, and you can get connected to those if you're not paying attention. But there's real ones. And there's a lot of them, and they've always existed.
What's your favorite?
Conspiracy theory? Yeah. The favorite's always the war ones, because it's just so crazy that they'll just lie to get us into wars. And that it's always been a thing. Hitler burned the Reichstag, and Nero burned Rome, and the Gulf of Tonkin incident, and there were the Operation Northwoods thing that they planned that was signed by the Joint Chiefs of Staff and vetoed by Kennedy, where they're going to arm Cuban friendlies and have them attack Guantanamo Bay and blow up a jetliner and blame it on Cuba. They were going to do some wild shit to try to get us to go to war with Cuba. Those are the most fascinating to me because there are a bunch of people at high-level positions in the government that are conspiring to get us to go to war. And this is what Eisenhower warned us about at the end of his presidency. He warned about the military-industrial complex. It was a fascinating speech. And if you think about it now, it's like, God damn, was he right? That, to me, is the most fascinating because it seems like there's just this machine that's always been running society. But we've kind of pretended it wasn't. Pretended that wasn't the case and pretended it wasn't this massive industry that requires war in order to feed itself. That, to me, is the wildest one. That and then UFOs. The UFO one, then, man, I'm kind of sour on it lately.
Really?
Yeah, because they keep talking about it.
And
the more they talk about it, not show me anything, and the more they, have whistleblowers and all this, the more I'm like, why do I feel like I'm being fucked with? Why do I feel like there's something going on? Or why do I feel like this is a juicy distraction? Why do I feel like, because it always happens in these military areas, why do I have a feeling like you guys have developed some insane technology that people aren't aware of? I mean, and it might even not be a physical thing, right? It might be something they can project from satellites. Maybe it's some sort of a hologram. Maybe it's, who knows what the fuck it is? Maybe it is from another planet. Maybe there are interdimensional beings that occasionally visit us, and they always have. It sounds goofy. But the problem is, if something as crazy as alien life visited us, wouldn't it just seem fake? That's the other thing I tussle with. I'm like, even if they really were having actual disclosure, they really are having congressional hearings about whether or not these things are ours, or whether or not there's any crashed UFOs that the government has retrieved. Is there really a program where they retrieve crashed UFOs and back engineer them? Is that real? So if it is real, how long has this been going on? And you guys are just telling us now? Why? If that's real, that changes everything. It changes everything about the way we interact with the universe. That we're like little children, and they're just keeping an eye on us, like Chimp Empire. Like, be careful over there. Don't do anything nutty. Be careful. Let's just watch them. Let's just watch them as they evolve and eventually travel into the cosmos like all the other aliens.
There is an argument to be said for not telling the truth. Have you ever heard the story of War of the Worlds, when it was broadcast on the radio, and it created pandemonium because people thought it was a news broadcast, and everybody, loads of people lost their minds, etc.
Apparently, I just read recently that was really overblown, and that was a lot of propaganda, and a lot of that was like the narrative that they put out to show the success of that radio show. And that most people were aware that it was a radio program, like a fiction.
Really?
Yeah, apparently there wasn't any suicides. I thought there was a bunch of suicides. People killed themselves. Didn't we pull that up recently? We did, right? Yeah, I think Jamie found it, actually. We've always been saying that it like created mass pandemonium and chaos, but apparently that's not really accurate. Or at least might not be accurate.
Have you heard of the one about Hitler and Stalin?
Which one?
Well, the idea is, and I'm not into a lot of conspiracy theories, but this one, having read a lot, various historians talk about, I actually genuinely think could be real. It's the idea that Stalin encouraged Hitler, supported him, which he did. I mean, they signed a non-aggression treaty. The Soviet Union funded Germany, sent them grain and all sorts of other things. The idea is that Stalin wanted Hitler to start a big European war, so that once he was all done, he could come in and sweep over the ashes, which makes a lot of sense, because the communist idea was you can't make this shit work unless everybody gets it. That was the idea of communism, right? You can't have communism in one country. You have to spread it around the world. And they thought, and they said this openly, the communists, that the best way to do that is to have a world war, and then you can spread the ideas as a result of that.
God damn, people have always been crazy.
He's right.
They've always been insane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Imagine someone, like, that's your idea. Like, what are you going to do today? I'm going to go play golf with Ron White. What are you going to do? I think I'm going to start a war so I can take over Europe.
Right.
Yeah. But the terrifying thing is there's always been those dudes. There always will be. There always will be.
We don't want to think they're here now.
But
right?
the thing is, for them, you could argue it's rational, right? How do you best secure the future of your people? You can rationalize it in your head. How do you best secure the future of your people? Well, the best way, the North America, right, is controlled by the United States, and it's safe because of it, right? You have Canada to your north, you have Mexico. These countries are all kind of in your orbit. You've got them under control. You're safe. What's the safest way for Russia or the Soviet Union to do that? It's to control the entirety of their continent. So you can rationalize anything if you're in that position. I'm looking after my people. It's not that hard. You know, we are able to rationalize the most horrific shit in our heads if we really want to.
Yeah.
And
we always have.
And we always have. And we always will.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we always will.
And we've always wanted to build empires. We've been building empires from year dot. Everybody builds empires.
But do you think that is also what we're talking about earlier, a part of our operating system? Like, there's always going to be these conquerors and then the resistance of the conquerors, and through this back and forth, the society evolves.
Yeah, and I sometimes think, like, speaking of aliens, what would it be like if you look down on planet Earth, right? What do you see if you actually look? You see these bands of chimps with every fucking weapon that they could possibly invent pointed at each other. That's what we are.
Yeah.
That's what we are.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you know what also you'd see, though? You'd see, if you were really objective, like, what does this species do? They make better things.
Yeah.
That's what they do. They're like, even in Star Wars, they never made anything better. Go back to, like, fucking Luke Skywalker, like the first movie, Star Wars, and then to the last movie. They basically have the same weapons.
Yeah.
Same fucking light speed capabilities, same problems with their spaceships. They didn't get any better. We get better constantly.
Yeah.
We're constantly obsessed with innovation. And if you just looked at the species as a whole, like, what is it doing? It's making better stuff.